skyline, baby, let the truth come rushing in. Don't you let your heart go anywhere, just think what might have been. Now that all the waiting is over, don't know what I would get. To hide among the bygone shadows where I end and you begin. Because there's never been a better time to be alive.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. It is Monday, June 17th. Boy, did I have a long weekend. For those who care, I did turn 31 this past Friday. Did a little traveling, went off the grid, and while I was off the grid, actually experienced some issues with my topic this evening, which is co-parenting in today's diverse society. And with me tonight, I have the host of Liberty Movement Radio, Caleb Leverett. Caleb, hello.
Hello, Kristen Meghan. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right. Well, for those listeners who aren't familiar with your work as a kind of I guess you'd say, a public figure / activist / radio guru, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and how you got started in kind of exploring voluntarism or libertarianism, and just give us some info about yourself.
Well, before all those fine compliments you gave me, before all that, I am a very arrogant. No, I'm kidding. I'm an outstanding daddy, and I'm good at my job, and I'm good at being a dad, and I suck at everything else. But I've got 4 children. I've been married twice. I'm permanently single. I was raised a Republican. I used to vote and stuff, and I thought it made a difference. And over the last 3 or 4 years, maybe 5, I'd say 4 years, I slowly became introduced to libertarianism and activism, and I started realizing that the world in which we live is not what I was taught and shown that it was. And when it started biting me and biting my children and hurting my family, it made me angry. And so I started getting really mouthy, really obnoxious, to the point of actually started a radio show, like you said on Liberty Movement Radio. And I've got 4 children. Go ahead.
I just have to stop you to address the permanently single. Are we anti-united relationships with the state?
Oh, well, with the state, of course. I mean, that's a given. I say permanently single. I got divorced the first time in 2007, and I swore up and down I'd never do it again. And by 2008, I was remarried, happily remarried, I might add. And then it just came to an abrupt halt almost a year ago. Memorial Day. And once that happened, I've made up my mind I will never put my children, as long as they are kids, through that. And so, I say permanently single, at least until my daughter London, who is 8 years old, she's about to turn 8, 3 days. No, tomorrow. Yeah, she's turned 8 tomorrow. At least until she is a legal adult and she's fully developed and all that good stuff. I'm just not interested in putting my kids through that, much less my own heart.
Well, and that's exactly why I wanted to have you on tonight. Obviously, I met you through the whole quote movement, and you and I actually share a lot of the same principles when it comes to parenting and exactly what you just said about relationships. And I really appreciate having you on, because having another female on to discuss this issue, I thought was kind of one-sided. And I've heard your story before about being permanently single, and that is a very selfless sacrifice. A lot of people might think that's crazy, but, I am a product of divorced parents. By no means am I bragging that, but it's kind of made me who I am today, and I don't regret it. And I'm also divorced. And as I said earlier, during my off-the-grid getaway, I kind of had an issue with the ex-husband. And this is in no way to disrespect him on air, but a lot of parents, I'm sure, deal with co-parenting. And it's different when you have someone like us who's more liberty-minded, more free-thinking, and, quote, thinking outside the box. How have you had experiences with kind of collisions when it comes to decisions about maybe medical care or school, or maybe just different principles that you're trying to instill in your children? I know recently, if you want to go into the story, you had an issue where your oldest son and your ex-wife had a little bit of a confrontation. So do you want to go into that?
You pick which one you want to go into. I can go into the video, or what happened, or I can go into what you said. You said something before that.
Yeah, the co-parenting issue. Let's start with that, because one thing that my ex-husband and I struggle with is the disagreement on whether or not to vaccinate. I stopped vaccinating our daughter around age 4 once I became more educated on the paradigm of what's really involved with big pharma and pharmaceuticals. And due to my profession, I kind of had to look back and go, wait a minute, the same things that I'm protecting adult employees from in my profession, the state and big pharma is trying to inject into my child, which her body cannot metabolize. So that's something that we deal with offline, and we pretty much co-parent, but when it comes to the more liberty-minded decisions, we do have issues, and it's hard. So have you had issues like that with your co-parenting?
Oh yeah, I've absolutely had. I've had to. My oldest son now lives with me and has for about the past 3 weeks. But as far as the other ones, I kind of I take the serenity prayer approach to it. Give me the strength to understand the things that I can't change. When my other 3 children are with their mom, I just have to be big and realize that there's not a darn thing that I can do to change the behavior of the relationship they have. I don't want to change the relationship, but as far as vaccinations, to the best of my knowledge, all of my kids are getting regularly vaccinated. I talk to them about it and about the mercury and the poisons that are put in. And my kids are all being raised by an anarcho-capitalist, but there's whenever they regularly get their shots, and the only thing I could do to stop it absolutely would be to go break the law heinously, which would put me in prison, which would totally make me a non-entity in my children's life. So the only thing I can do is just pray to God that whatever those vaccines that the doctors are putting in my kids, that I have no choice, I have no voice, or there's no way I can stop. Just pray to God that it just doesn't kill them or hurt them or hinder them.
Right, and I struggle with that same issue because, my daughter's father is kind of raised more, I'd say, in the bubble. Comes from a small town, everyone knows everyone knows the family doctor. And I just tell him it's no disrespect. I'm not saying that he's not informed, but there's a struggle there of my daughter stopped being vaccinated, and his point of view is, you made that decision, and our custody agreement is more of any medical treatment has to be decided on. And that's not treatment, it's more preventive care. But if I was in your situation, I have primary physical custody of my daughter, but if I was in a situation where I couldn't control her being vaccinated, I would probably end up like your situation. My alternative is to go to jail, which then I would most likely lose custody. It's a very challenging time, and I don't want to have to go to the state and have someone in a robe decide what I do, but it's very frustrating because it's like the as they call it in this movement, the red pill. Once you know what you know, based on independent research, it's hard to look away at what happens to the children in the medical community and not be able to convince the other parent to at least make an informed decision. But what about schools? I mean, do your children attend a public school?
All 4 have until this year, and I just finished up my oldest son, who lived with me for the last 2 weeks of his public school. And hang on, before you get to public school, I'd like to address one thing you just said. As far as there's not a whole lot you can really do about it. And granted, there's not. My hands are tied, but at the same time, they're in the way I see it, income's somewhat of a black market. And what I mean by black market is people like me figure out ways to get our point across and hopefully deter or at least, stop or at least deter what I consider bad behavior. And what I mean by that is, like I said, getting back to the video, which we can go into later, recording and exposing not what I said, but what happened between my ex-wife and my son, figuring out new creative ways to use technology to our advantage in order to get our point across about whether it's my objection to public schools or my objection to vaccinations.
Oh, we got a short break right here, but after the break, I would like to go into the story of the filming of an incident with your son. We can do that right after the break. Good evening, everyone, again. Just came back. Just now joining us, I have with me Caleb Leverett from Leverett Movement Radio, who's also a friend and who also has 4 children. I have 1 child. And we share the, I guess, love for non-aggressive, non-violent, free-thinking co-parenting. And right before the break, Caleb was about to tell us an instant where he had stated he used, technology as an advantage to kind of show 2 sides to a story that often we didn't have, 10, 15 years ago, that can help resolve some issues without maybe needing intervention from the state. So Caleb, if you can kind of go into your story about your oldest son and what recently happened and how you've gained custody.
Yeah, my oldest son simply refused to get out of the truck. I've got 4 children, ages, they all turn a year older. For brevity's sake, they're ages 8, 10, 12, and 14. The little girl being the baby, and my oldest son is Parker. He's the one who's all over the video. And the little ones got out, as they always do, at 2 o'clock on the 4th Sunday. And my oldest son, Parker, just simply refused to get out of the car, out of the truck. And he held his ground for when his mother called the cops on either himself or me or both of us, however you look at it. He was not being held there against his will. I told him in the video, to him, his mother, and the cops, that he is free to go at any time. He's free. I'm not restraining him. He's free to go, but I'm not going to initiate force and force him to do something he does not want to do, because he's expressed to me for many, many years, pretty much since long divorce, that he wanted to live with me. And ultimately, like I said, his mom called the cops. They 2 of them eventually showed up. Officers Rocha and Spinks showed up. And I've got nothing but wonderful things to say about them. They're professional. They're courteous. She tried to force, as you'll see in the video, she tried to force him out of the vehicle, tried to unlock the truck, and tried to pull the handle. And he stood his ground over the course of about 1 hour and 12 minutes, which is when we were finally free to go. He stood his ground, and he pleaded with the officers to not force him to get out, and they did not. They did not force him against his will. He resisted his mom, and we were free to go after 1 hour and 12 minutes, and we drove off. And I held on to the video. I didn't publish it for about, the days are running together. I didn't publish it for about a week, roughly, until something happened that prompted me to just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And so I decided to publish it. And it's had about 70,000 views to this point, and we've got about roughly 2,500 thumbs up and 40 thumbs down, something like that. And I couldn't be more proud of my son for doing what he did, inspiring the love mail we've been getting. I'm real proud of him.
And,
yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Had a little bit of wind there for a second. Didn't know if you were vacuuming while talking to us. No.
Well, I've got go ahead.
I did see the video that you just mentioned, and it is about 1 hour long, but it is well worth it because it's unscripted reality of what goes on sometimes that people don't see between parents. And I totally commend you because, again, we are friends, and I follow your posts on social media, and the things that you do with your children are just so kind of old school. Whether you're painting, a little garden hut with your daughter, planning, you're teaching them things that you don't really learn in the school system. I mean, you're doing hard labor. You know, your kids are helping you do carpentry work. You know, you're a safe parent. And I'm sure, you know, that's something that is learned from both parents. But sometimes, like, as I grew up, when I had, you know, visitation with my dad, it was the same thing. You know, let's go back to the house, watch my dad watch golf while he puts in a frozen pizza. And I just sit there waiting to be dropped off at my mom's because we didn't have that interaction. So, you know, it's great to see when fathers can come forward and kind of break the stigma of how it's viewed of visitation and, you know, it's just a check in the box. You seem to really interact with your children. And I know it's very hard to bite your tongue, but you just held your camera up and you were very respectful to the men with badges, which do not grant them extra rights, by the way.
They don't.
But how did you come to the point? I mean, I don't want to go too personal for you, but did you have a good example when you were growing up, or was it some sort of revelation that really made you value your role as a parent?
No, I didn't have. I mean, don't take this the wrong way. I love my parents, and we talk literally every day, and we get along great. But no, I wasn't raised this way at all. They were, and like you said, I'm not slamming them, but I don't know. I guess I just figured it out of love for my children. Obviously, I've had some wonderful influences. My friend John Bush from Austin, Texas, Stefan Malin, who's been a great influence in my life. Even though I did quit spanking my kids before I'd ever even heard of nonviolent parenting, I just didn't like to do it. I admittedly did spank them briefly for a while, first few years of being a young parent, and I regret it. I'll go to my grave regretting it.
There you go.
Beg your pardon?
I said I'm right there with you.
No, I don't like the violence, and I never have. But as far as the kids and what they saw in the video, because I did show my kids a video. I probably better not. I probably better not go there. You got a break again?
Yep, we got a break coming up, but after the break, I'd like you to finish out that story because you started to go into showing whether or not to show the kids, but we'll go there after the break, so stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back, everyone. We just had a short break, and before the break, Hale was telling us about his situation with his children and how he recently gained custody of his oldest son, and this was all surrounding a video he had taken where his son had made the decision that he did not want to be released back to his mother after weekend visitation, which kind of showcased how children nowadays are, kind of having more confidence to stand up to a parent or even a policeman and saying, this is what I feel is right for me, and just kind of hoping for that respect. So, Caleb, before the break, you mentioned that you did show your other kids, but kind of a taboo subject there. But if you don't want to go into it, I understand.
I can go into a little bit.
Well, do so, sir.
Okay, well, obviously I've made myself and parts of my life and my family's life public knowledge, but I had to for a reason, or my son would not be living with me. That being said, this is a game changer. To the best of my knowledge, what Parker and I managed to accomplish, and I'm not patting myself on the back, I'm very humbled by this, by the outpour of support of people who I can tell are crying as they're typing on the computers, thanking both of us, but this is a game changer. I don't know if this has ever happened. We did not go through the courts. I did not have to pay $10,000 to hire a stinking lawyer to go press charges or bring up charge or sue the ex for more time. I didn't have to do any of that. It cost me the cost of my iPhone and an hour of my time and a YouTube channel. And he's now living with me. That being said, I did show my children obviously Parker and I, we watched as soon as we got home, and I didn't like that. I did not release it until about a week and a half later, and I can get into that later if there's time. But I just got back. I had a 10-day vacation, summer vacation, the first of 10, the first 2 10-day vacations with my kids, the little ones, the little 3, and I showed them all. And the thing about a camera is cameras don't lie.
Right.
Cameras tell the truth.
And both sides of the story.
cameras tell both sides of the story. Cameras show lies, or they at least prove lies to be wrong. And the main and the most important is this camera. In our situation, thankfully, it was resolved in a peaceful manner. But had violence ensued, the camera will show who initiated the force. Whether it was going to be his mom or his stepdad or them in conjunction together or the police officers. That was the main point, because we had no idea what to expect. Neither one of us. I mean, I was scared to death at first. Not from what would happen to me, because I don't care about me, but what would happen to him being so defiant, and then if it were to come to violence and he had to go back in there, I was scared to death for him, for his sake, because I don't know what's going to happen. But again, the main thing, the reason for the camera is to keep everybody honest. If you'll notice in the video, I might have said 5 or 6 sentences at the most. I didn't publish anything that I said that was derogatory towards anybody. I published what was recorded of other people. And people, the audience, the 70,000 plus views that have watched it have made their voice loud and clear, in my opinion. Like I said, 2,500 thumbs up and 40 thumbs down. They're on the side of peaceful resolution.
Right. Those are I just checked the video during the last break, and you're right. There's just over 70,182 views, 47 dislikes, which tells me there's 47 disgruntled ex-wives. No. But again, I did watch this video, and the thing about the video that was just so... A lot of people don't have the attention span to watch an hour-long YouTube video of 2 people in a car. But It wasn't the timing of the video. It was watching how you could almost see that the mother was almost realizing this could go on YouTube, or this could be used in the court of law. And it's kind of like what copblock.org does. It's that accountability. And it's not to frame anyone, like you said. You can sit on the stand and people can tell their sides of the story, but the video doesn't lie. There's no breaks. It's not edited. It's just from start to finish. And you, like you said only a few words, and you were very respectful. And quote, sometimes you have to let people show their rear ends sometimes. And I think in today's age, when kids are growing up with more technology, I mean, my daughter is more tech savvy than I am with the tablet and her phone. I hope that if a situation were to arise, that my daughter would enable it to be videoed or would feel comfortable doing it herself. And it's not to have kids kind of show disrespect and flex muscles at a young age. It's to say, look, there's times have changed, and look at the NSA now. We're all being watched. But when your own kids are paying attention, it kind of puts parents in check. And again, that's no disrespect to your ex-wife or anything, but I mean, again, this video went viral. This was just over a week and a half ago that you posted the video?
Right.
Right. And this thing has...
especially like you said, with the length of it, I'm still in shock. Most people don't have the attention span of anything longer than a Britney Spears video. And 70,000 people have watched this thing. And, I'm sure not everybody watched the whole thing. But with 3,000 plus comments or whatever it's at right now, there's a whole lot of people and I'm getting fan mail from people saying, I've not just watched every second of it. I've seen it for about the 6 year. They call it my film. It's like I'm a film director, like I'm Spielberg or something. I've watched your film 6 or 7 times, and it's very flattering, and it's humbling that something with I'm calling not just a libertarian aspect to it, but more of a voluntarist aspect to it. Videos like this unless you're Ron Paul, videos like this just don't get these kind of views in general, for the most part. Molyneux's got a couple that are, they've done fantastically well, over, a couple, 3-4 million views. And there's others, but for the most part, things like this, especially like an hour and 12 minutes, they just don't get that kind of, and I'm just blown away. Parker is blown away. One of the biggest criticisms I get is, I can't believe you did this. You're exposing your children. I can't believe, what is your son going to say whenever he grows up and sees all this? And I'm like, My son was begging me to post the darn thing. By the way, I'm having a really tough time not cursing, and I hope you can appreciate that.
Well, I'm very proud of you. I know how that is.
My son was the one who wanted to post it that day. And I said, dude, we got to play this strategically. Like, we can't just do this on a whim. Maybe they conceded, and they're not bugging us. They've not called us. Well, we talked at the time anyways. So we'll just not do it. Come to find out, we are being stalked, and that's my words. Others may not call it that, but I did confront the stepdad, Jason May. He works just right around the corner where my shop is, which is where I live, because I have an apartment here. He admitted to trespassing on my land and putting signs up saying that they missed my son. And I don't doubt that they do miss him. I'm sure they do. I mean, I miss him too, because he's awesome. But I didn't appreciate my land being trespassed on and these boxes being dug out of the garbage and then put back when we'd already discarded them once. And that's what prompted me to post it. So anyway, long story short, he was just chomping at the bit, wanting this to post it, Dad, post it. It's like, you know what? Come on, we gotta work at this. And once they, in my opinion, crossed the line, that's when he posted it. So that's that.
Right, and in the video, I mean, for him to beg you to post it, I mean, he does show emotion. I mean, 14-year-old son, you can tell he gets very emotional. So most kids might be afraid of maybe being made fun of for showing the emotion, but you can tell he truly wants to get his side of the story out. And I don't think it's to bash the mom. I think it's to say, like, other kids, if you are at an age where you feel you can make this decision, because he's not an 8-year-old, your daughter's a little bit younger, but at 14, look, I know what I was experiencing emotionally and physically at 14. And even though my mother primarily raised me, I think at 14, I was mature enough to make the decision. And in most states, I believe it's around age 12. But if people who are listening are wondering what exactly we're talking about, it is on Caleb's YouTube channel. If you just search 14-year-old Parker stands up for his rights. Again, it's on Caleb Leverett's channel, and you'll see it has about just over 70,000 views. And again, it's an hour-long video, and it just showcases how you can have peaceful resolution. You can't always guarantee that both sides are going to be peaceful, but, I hope that maybe the other parties involved in this kind of learned something. And if you said that now they're allowing your son to stay there, I mean, I think in the end, more respect for his mother.
Well, had I not recorded it, I don't know that would be the case. In fact, I'm quite certain it wouldn't have been the case.
Right. So obviously this is something that you don't regret, and I'm glad you posted it because it's allowing this dialect we're having now. We have a break coming up, and after the break, I'd like Caleb to let us know where we can find his radio show, where we can find his YouTube channel. And I have a couple more questions, hopefully not too personal, but I think Caleb can handle it. We'll be back right after the break. And we are back. Again, if you just joined us, we're sitting here talking about co-parenting, how basically you have one liberty-minded, one voluntarist parent, and the other not so much. Maybe status, maybe, well, I have other names I can't really say live on air, but if you struggle with co-parenting because of different political, religious, or just different views on how to allow your children free thinking and open dialect. That's what we've been discussing this evening. And before the break, I told Caleb I had a couple personal questions for him. So Caleb, are you ready for it?
Bring it. I'm ready.
No, it's not too bad.
Oh, come on. Let's just go into Black Hole Hour.
Yeah. Well, on Caleb's show, he has Black Hole Hour, which, well, it needs no description. But that's one thing I love about going on his show is there's no holds there. But as we're talking about the difference in co-parenting, we can share opinions and how we parent, but is there anything that you recommend to help kind of ignite the fire between parents? I mean, one thing I've been kind of arguing with my ex-husband the last few days about the whole vaccine issue when my daughter's been begging me to be homeschooled. And I stumbled across a book called Everything Voluntary, From Politics to Parenting. I got it from looking on the Mises Institute. And I just wondered, is there anything that you recommend for other parents or people who maybe this is a reason they fear having children, to not have full control over decisions of the child? Is there anything you recommend to help kind of open the dialect or kind of unite the relationship between two parents who are trying to raise children together?
I would say, first of all, and I'll get to what your exact question is, but first of all, before you get anybody, and as far as my recommendation, trying what I did first, you have to be a peaceful parent. You have to be the biggest dork in the world that your kids adore. You cannot be a violent parent, and I'm going to go ahead and take it this far because I do not discipline my children whatsoever. You cannot be a disciplinarian. You cannot show authoritarian. You cannot show that or demonstrate to them that you own them, and until you're 18, I can kill you and I can do whatever. No, you can't do that. And sure, people joke about it. I get that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But in my case, I've found that I'm brutally honest with my children. There's very few things that I don't talk to them about. Certainly if they're, really, when they're really tiny, you don't talk necessarily about sex things or whatever, but, for the most part, I don't censor my kids. If they start watching something on TV, I'll give them a look. I say, dudes, y'all really want to watch that? I mean, surely there's something a little more educational than that. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. But the kids got to like you. The kids have to want to be around you. And I know there's that natural instinct that all children that love their parents, and I get that. My old son, to the best of my knowledge, loves his mother, and I encourage that. I hope he does, because I think all kids should love their moms regardless of whatever's happened. I don't know exactly what's happened other than what I've been told, but you got to be a good parent. You got to be a good person. You have to be, like I said, I don't discipline my kids. I guide my kids. I say, kids, look, I'm the biggest idiot you're ever going to meet, because here's what I've done. I've done this wrong, that wrong, and I've got I've got the Polaroids to prove it. I've got the court orders to prove it. I've got the debt to prove it. Trust me, I know what stupid is. I can show you how stupid I've been. I want to be your pal, your buddy, and I want to show you the wrong way to do it. And then you incorporate that with the non-aggression principle, and my kids love it. And people say, I can't believe you don't discipline your children. So all I can say is, if you know my children personally, nobody in their right mind would ever say that they are rude or they're disrespectful or they're awful kids. They're intolerable. They're the most polite kids you're ever going to be around. And that's not me just tooting my own horn. They're good kids. They're great kids. They're friendly.
Well, no, I'd like to go back to that because I totally agree with you. It reminds me of being in the military. You're supposed to respect and salute,
yes,
the rank on the shoulder, but respect is commanded, not demanded. And as a parent, just because, the quote, I brought you into this world and I can bring you out. As me, I think that's why I'm such a rebel. I don't like forced authority, and that's why I'm known as the loudmouth, because I was in the military for 9 years and I had to deal with that. So I'm not, a perfect parent, and I like to self-identify to work on my parenting skills. And being, quote, awake has really helped me with my parenting, because just like you said, down to, I don't shelter my daughter from certain things either. She knows things that most kids don't know by age 15, but that's to help protect her, not to scare her. But whether she leaves the refrigerator door open, I don't say, close the door, we raised in the barn. I say, hey, you need to close the door. This is the budget. This is an electric bill. Like, I don't say just because I said so. I take the time to explain a budget to my child. She knows how to balance in a bank account. She is self-sufficient. She can work a stove, work an oven, of course, never when she's, not under adult supervision. But I agree with you. When you empower them, you still let them be children, but when you empower them, I find that there's more mutual respect there. And I have a ever-evolving relationship with my daughter, and I know you've met her, and hopefully you can say she's a great child, because
she's
I do
a sweetheart, is what she was.
Right.
I
follow the same ideals that you do.
Yeah, and on top of that, people, it seems like a lot of parents are afraid to go that route. It's like it's kind of tempting. It kind of sounds fun, but I'm afraid they're going to be bad, or I'm not going to know what to do. You'd be surprised, parents, how many questions your child is going to ask how involved they're going to want to be. Hey, Dad. Hey, Mom. What are you doing? Do you need help? Are you working? Can I help with something? I'd like to help. They want to get involved. They want to learn. Kids are inherently curious. They want to learn things. They want to know how to do things. They just want to know. This whole forcing this junk down their throat that they're not interested in is crap. And it ultimately, it starts off in Little League football, and it goes up into the bosses, the corporate world, and then like in your case with the military, where you're getting yelled at, and I've got more bars or whatever on my shoulder, so my testicles are bigger than yours, so you salute me, and you'd be surprised how involved the children want to be on their own without you having to essentially point a gun at them, threaten them with privileges and rights.
Maybe due to like the public school system and the set mold that all these children are supposed to fall into, which is not right because they all develop and are raised different. But I feel like we undermine their intelligence by saying, oh, you're too young to know this. Or, my daughter's 8 and she just started mowing the lawn. Now she turns 9 here in a couple weeks, but she wants to mow the lawn right now. And I would never imagine mowing the lawn the grade, but she loves doing it. We got old school on lawnmower. She wants to learn how to, she likes doing laundry. I'm trying to take full advantage of that now, but right. So I empower her, and it takes extra patience, but I found that patience pays off because you have more well-behaved children, more respectful children, and children that are able to fend for themselves in society. But
I do have a confession. I'm only being nice to them because I'm getting old quickly, and I don't want to be an old fogey, and I want someone to take care of me.
Well, I'm sorry. You got to think about the long run.
I'm kidding.
We've got just a few minutes left, and I definitely want you to be able to tell people where they can find your YouTube channel, if you have a website, and when your show comes on. Again, it's Liberty Movement Radio. And Caleb, if you can just give us that information, I really like people to kind of tune into your open forum on Liberty Movement Radio.
Yeah, it's completely FCC free. Totally, you say there's only 2 rules to be on the show. You've got to be interesting, and B, you cannot threaten anybody. Other than that, it's no holds barred. Mondays and Thursdays now, it's changed. Ben Farmer, my co-host, of which my show would not be what it is, do the Caleb Leverett Radio Show on libertymoveradio.com. I do have a personal website. It is Crank My Cat, and no, it's not a porn site. I'm a Caterpillar diesel engine mechanic. And about 8 years ago, some buddies of mine just thought it was funny. We were watching Trick My Truck and Pimp My Ride, and we came up with Crank My Cat since we all work for Caterpillars. So it's crankmycat.com.
Well, it's a good thing you clarified that, because if you had, that type of website, and we're talking about children. No.
Yeah, talking about kids and porn. Yeah, I get it a lot. No, it's not a porn site. There's nothing pornographic on there. YouTube is the same thing. YouTube.com/crankmycat. It's actually, with the way Google and everybody's integrated, it's my name now. Caleb Leverett is the actual name of it, but the URL is youtube.com/crankmycat. Twitter, I don't do it very well. I've got all of a sudden, now that the video went viral, I've got a lot of followers all of a sudden. I don't get on it very much. It's at Caleb Leverett. And, we made a Facebook fan page for Parker. He doesn't have a Facebook himself. He does contribute to what little content's on there. It's teamparker.org, of which somebody on this show owes me a Team Parker t-shirt, I do believe. Right.
I did say I was Team Parker. Well, I definitely want to thank you for...
Yeah, we're looking forward to those t-shirts.
We might even do... I'll make some sort of bracelet or something. But I want to appreciate you coming on tonight. Again, you can follow Caleb on Twitter, YouTube, and look up Liberty Movement Radio. Would you say Monday and Thursdays?
Yes, Monday and Thursdays, 7 to 10 Central Standard Time, unless we go into double overtime on the black hole hour, which happens almost every time.
Yes, and I have been on Caleb's shows a few times, and I'm just really glad that you took the time to come on the show while I'm guest hosting, because it is a great platform.
You're always a pleasure to talk to. Trust me. Hey, by the way, real quick, I got a new cat. Remember, plus the cat died?
Yes, you got a new cat.
I do. My son Parker gave it to me for Father's Day. We named her Masuka, like Masuka off
That
of
is
Dexter.
great. Now you have another child to raise. So let's see if this non-aggression principle works for your cat. But again, thank you so much for coming on Wide Awake Radio. And once again, I want to thank the crew for letting me guest host Mondays for the rest of this month in June. We'll see you again next Monday. Everyone have a good evening and stay nonviolent, hug your kids, and be a great co-parent. Good night, everybody.